Well, today we're talking about something a little different than what I normally cover. I am working with Calf to talk about their Calf Visinse VR camera. This is a VR 180-degree camera capable of 8K video at 30 FPS, or you can do up to 6K video at 50 FPS, or push it to 60 FPS at 4K. I am Jay Barr and I cover everything VR, gaming, tech, and esports. Let's dive right in. This is what they're considering their first entry-level VR camera, and there are some really good things about it and maybe some improvements that we can talk about. First things first, let's talk about the specs on this baby. Video recordings gives you a 180-degree ultra-wide range with these two custom binocular fisheye lenses. They have dual Sony CMOS sensors, and the camera itself has a battery life of 3600 mAh. And if I take off these silicone covers over the lenses, you'll be able to see those nice, beautiful fisheye lenses that it has attached here. Using this camera is actually my first experience with a VR camera, but it's gone pretty well so far. A couple of hitches here and there and things that they can improve on, but for the most part, I was able to get some pretty good recordings of my trip to CES. I actually went to CES for the first time this year, and I posted on a couple of different apps. Calf has their own video streaming app that's available on Android, iOS, or on the MetaQuest store, and I believe it's also available on the Apple Vision Pro. And I also posted on another site called DOVR. It seems to be another popular VR video site, so if you want to check it out, I'll have links to those in the description. You can watch them from your phone, you can watch them on your MetaQuest or your Apple Vision Pro, or something like the X-Real Air 2 Pros. And the title for that video on both apps is just called A Glimpse of CES 2025. Let's walk you through some of the settings here. One thing I did want to say is the very first thing you should do when you get this camera is check which version you're on. Right now, the latest version as of when I'm posting this video is 3.2.3. You always want to make sure you're on that latest version, and if you are not, you just need to go to calfglobal.com, go to their review and download section, and then go through the update to the latest version. There are links there on that page. The next thing you want to do is make sure you have an account registered. When you go into this account, when you're not logged in, it'll have you register for an account. If you don't do that, every time you try to record or take a picture, you'll get a pop-up mentioning that there's more features if you log in. So you do want to log into that account, and it's also the only way for you to be able to check for updates after you're all set up. And on this side, you have a port for a storage card. It only comes with 32 gigs, so you do want to add that if you plan to record a lot of video. And you also get this nice Ethernet port if you want to get into live streaming with it. And on this side, you have two Type-C ports, as well as a headset and audio jack. So the two Type-C ports, one can be dedicated for charging, and the other one you can use if you want to use something like a DJI mic transmitter. So let's take a quick look at the settings on this camera. So you have live. Here's where you can set up a live stream. This is not something I've really tested out yet because I don't have a great use case for it, but at some point I would like to test it out. It looks like it's set up so you can push a live stream to OBS Live or YouTube. And when you choose one of those options, you can customize the video settings, but we're gonna look at that in a second here. You also have photo options that you can set either on a timer to 3 seconds or 10 seconds, or just have it take a picture right away. You can take 2D or 3D photos, and then you have this environmental setting. So this is the same for both video and photo. You don't really get full control of your exposure settings, but you do get these four kind of pre-baked settings depending on which type of environment you're in. For mode, you can take it in VR flat or original. Obviously, VR is what you want to choose if you're trying to do more of a spatial photo. And for resolution, you can do anywhere from 4K up to 8K. And the video settings are very similar, but you can choose 100, 50, 30, or 10 megabits per second. You can choose whether or not you're doing a 2D or 3D video, and for these purposes, obviously I recorded as a 3D video. For FPS, you can do 24 or 30 FPS at 8K. If you go up to 50 FPS, you're gonna go down to up to 6K. And if you do 60 FPS, you max out at 4K. For my example videos while I was at CES, I kept it on 30 FPS at 8K. There's also network and Bluetooth, which I'm not going to show you what shows up in my house under those settings, but that's just so that you can log into the Wi-Fi at your house or connect something like a Bluetooth mic. Storage is where you can take a look at your internal storage and external if you add that. And you got some custom screen settings for the brightness of the screen that you can turn up or down, as well as some options for turning the camera off after a period of time while you're on battery power, or turning it off after a period of time while you're actually plugged in as well. And since you have these 3 buttons on the side to control, you can actually customize the top 2 to do different things. I'm leaving them at the standard because that just makes the most sense. When you click this, it goes back. If you long press it, it goes back to your preview. And then for the menu option, that'll open your settings. If you long press it, it'll open your settings menu. But you cannot customize that bottom power button. And the rest of the settings are just around the date, time, your time zone, and about is where you can check which version you are on. So if I were to shoot a 3D video of my space here, I would keep it on video, and we can actually check out the settings again from here. And this is just a reflection of the same settings we saw in the settings menu. And for the preview, you can choose to kind of have the fisheye lens angle preview or change it back so that you kind of get your full rectangle preview. Now, there was one thing when I got started on this that was kind of confusing. So obviously you have a touch screen here, and you can press this button to start and to stop recording. This button here, I also expected for some reason to be kind of a recording button because it just kind of looks like it is. But if you press it, it's actually for the screen power. If you press it again, it'll turn it on. This button doesn't do anything to handle actually starting or stopping recording. It is strictly power. So a single press is just to turn the screen off or to turn it back on, and then a long press is how you would turn the camera off. Overall, my experience with this camera when I dragged it with me to CES was it's pretty easy to use. It's very point and click. You're probably not gonna get the top of the line image quality out of it because it is a $900 VR camera, when most of them out there are still in the thousands of dollars. But for an entry-level user that is just trying to get into making VR videos, I think this is a pretty solid option. Now, another thing I want to cover though is the VR apps that you upload to. There are a couple of things I would like to see changed about how those operate. Obviously, it's not up to me, but these are just going to be suggestions from my end. I really do like the idea of VR video. I don't know if it's really fully taken off yet, and an entry-level camera like this could help get that type of capability into more people's hands, which I think is a good thing, because let me show you a little bit of something about my experience with the apps that are available out there. And this is not something that is exclusive to the Calf VR app. This is pretty much any app like DOVR and any others out there that I have tried to consume VR content from. So I'm gonna load into the Calf VR app here, and I'm just gonna show you kind of what my first experiences are with it. So as you can see, pretty much everything I'm being fed are these, I don't know how to say it, kind of one-on-one experiences with women. I don't know how else to say it. If I'm a typical user and I try out an app like this and this is really all I get, you know, it's I know there's a market for this stuff, but this isn't really what I would come here for. On the Calf VR app, if I want to get away from this kind of content, I have to hit search here and then find something else, like let's maybe try food appreciation. If we take a look at a video there, like this stuff is a lot more interesting to me, and I can turn back on the gyro here. But see, this stuff could be a little bit more interesting. We're actually taking a look at food. I guess again, now I'm back to pretending I'm on a date with someone. But you know, like cooking things, or some content I really like as a VR video content is music content. So you can be close to a stage, listening to music, but in VR. And again, this is something you can just experience on your Quest or your Apple Vision Pro or anything. This is the kind of stuff I actually want to be pushed first. Videos that are in nature, kind of showing you different parts of the world as well, I could get more behind that. Obviously, this I don't think is a real place, but you get the point. All that being said, I really do dig what this camera is capable of, and I would love to see more people getting a hold of these and making the type of content that I want to view on these kind of apps. If you are someone who's looking into making, whether it's movies, short films, making content for your band, or making wildlife nature content, this is a good option that's at a more affordable price than some of the higher end VR cameras out there. And I would love to see more of that content pushed out to these apps so that folks like me have a little bit more options than the one-on-one date or dancing experience. But there you have it. That's my quick overview. I do plan to use this camera a bit more, and I am going to try to post more on those sites like Calf VR and Dio just to see how the experience is over time. Let me know what kind of questions you have for me in the comments below, and I'll be happy to answer them. But also do me a big favor and hit that subscribe button if you do enjoy this kind of content. We do a lot of fun stuff around here. I also go live Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays starting around 8 p.m. Central Time. I'd love to see you there. And until next time,